Victoria Tennant stars as destitute Audra Kenton, determined to regain her birthright and the country mansion High Clew in Barbara Taylor Bradford's Act of Will.
You're disappointed.
The Crowds are family, and they're not exactly...
And I'm such a great catch, am I? A penniless orphan?
Well, you can't escape your background. You've got breeding, and it shows.
Absolute nonsense.
Oh, absolute nonsense, is it?
Yes, it is. Other women won't.
Well, that don't make it right.
Oh, you're so narrow.
Barbara Taylor Bradford's Act of Will, soon on ITV.
This is a new kind of mint, Needler's ESM. ESM stands for Extra Strong Mints, which is exactly what they are. Watch this. Mints just don't come any stronger than Needler's ESM.
I enjoy the finer things in life, and so could you. This week in The Sun, 5 holiday homes in France must be won in a free-to-enter competition. 5 winners will each receive £20,000 to buy a super little place like this one in an amazing £100,000 giveaway. Or you could take the cash instead. Good luck.
Plus, Vicky Michelle says a hello to motherhood and reveals how to stay looking great. And Hoddle and Waddle on Living and Playing in France. It's all in The Sun this week.
Me luck.
Vera Lynn, We'll Meet Again. 24 classic wartime melodies, only on Telstar.
Cassie was supreme champion at crafts. Now she's a mother and still fed on pedigree chum.
Cassie has proved that she can win on it, she can rear puppies on it. Dogs cannot have their diet chopped and changed as a human. You've got to stick to a brand that you know and trust. And I sincerely think the best is pedigree chum, because you've only got to look at the vitality and the health in the dogs and the puppies.
For nourishment you can see in a dog, pedigree chum. Top breeders recommend it.
Welcome to the Sky Revolution. More channels, more choice, TV's new generation. Sky One for the entire family. Action and comedy series, your favorite personalities, and exclusive big events. Sky Movies, a channel dedicated just to film. Hundreds of movies, many never seen on TV before. For sports fans, Eurosport, a full channel of nothing but sports. Britain's only all-news channel, Sky News. Live coverage, updated every hour, on the hour, 24 hours a day. All the Sky television channels can be yours for just $4.49 a week. The complete Sky subscription package. See National Press for details or call free on 0800 991 991 for written higher details. For more channels, more choice, it's Sky Television.
Professional hair care system. It's like having your hairdresser in the bathroom.
This place has got potential. It needs a bit of work. But who'll give me the money to buy a place like this and do it up?
If you're planning an affair with an old house, ask for the House Restoration Mortgage at N&P.
The world's your oyster? Do you already export? Then this brand new competition is for you. If your company is based in the Yorkshire television area, right now for an application form to Exporter of the Year 1989, Yorkshire Television leads LS3 1JS.
If you need some advice about your clothes or makeup, drop us a line. Whatever your age, shape, size or sex, we'd like to hear your problems so we can help you to solve them. Send us a photo and a daytime telephone number to Calendar Fashion, Yorkshire Television, Leeds LS3 1JS.
September the 3rd, 1939 was the day war broke out. How did it affect the lives of ordinary people, and what special provisions had the government made? ITV brings you a look back at Britain in those dark days of evacuation and blackout. A Sunday special at 10:05, the day war broke out.
At 11:35 tonight, there's a special tribute to naturalist Sir Peter Scott. Now, that means Ellis Island can now be seen at 12:35.
The news from ITN.
Kinnock family escape as his driver dies in motorway crash. South African police give way as protesters take over whites-only beach. Demonstrations in Azerbaijan as Soviets warn of civil war. And 50 years on, old enemies unite at Scarpa Flow to remember the dead. Good evening. Neil Kinnock and his wife Glenys have been injured in a car crash in Dublin in which their driver died. It's thought the driver suffered a heart attack and lost control of the hired Mercedes, which then crashed into another car. One report said that shortly before the accident, Mr. Kinnock's car was hit by a bottle. The Kinnocks were treated in hospital for cuts and bruises. They're now on their way back to London.
Mr. and Mrs. Kinnock arrived in Dublin yesterday morning for talks with the Irish Labour leader Dick Spring, seen here between Mr. and Mrs. Kinnock. He was also in the crash but was uninjured. The two leaders had had talks on South Africa and Northern Ireland. Then this afternoon, the Kinnocks and their party arrived at Dublin's Croke Park for the All-Ireland Hurling Championship. The visit to the Cup final was due to have been the last stop on their trip before leaving for the airport to catch an early evening flight back to London. After the match, the party left in convoy with the Kinnocks, two Labour Party officials and Mr. Spring in the lead car. Mr. Kinnock and his party were driving north out of the city when, according to eyewitnesses, a bottle was thrown at their car. The driver, a man in his 60s, drove on for 2.5 miles until just outside the airport he had a massive heart attack and died. The car careered into another vehicle, but the passengers, including Mr. and Mrs. Kinnock, escaped with cuts and bruises.
It appears that the driver of their car, which was a rented limousine, suffered a heart attack or some other form of traumatic illness and collapsed at the wheel, which resulted in the car being involved in an accident.
And what actually happened then?
It appears that the car ran into the side of another car.
Tonight, Mr. Kinnock and his party left Dublin Airport for London, badly shaken but with no serious injuries. They're due back home within the next hour.
In South Africa, more than 5,000 anti-apartheid protesters ignored whites-only signs on a beach in Durban today. The police stood by for 2 hours before moving them on. They made 58 arrests. Kevin Dunn's report was compiled under South Africa's reporting restrictions.
At the whites-only beach on Durban's Golden Mile, riot police were out in force. But unlike 2 weeks ago, when blacks who tried to step on the segregated sands were whipped and clubbed, today the police let them by. It was, the demonstrators claimed, a small triumph for the anti-apartheid defiance campaign. As many as 5,000 protesters celebrated their symbolic invasion, saying they no longer feared arrest or injury.
We are no longer prepared to stay back because of the fear of arrest. Even if they can shoot us, we don't care. This is our beach.
But while some whites seemed disapproving, others joined the demonstration, and what began as a day of action turned into a day of fun, under the watchful eye of the lifeguard. But while the protesters were today left to play happily in waves officially reserved for whites, the government has given no indication it will repeal its racial legislation. Meanwhile, in Cape Town today, Archbishop Tutu, criticised by the government for his political activism, held a service at which the banned colours of the African National Congress were unfurled. The Archbishop said South Africa's black majority were prepared to pay the price of freedom.
Our people have suffered for very, very many years, and now our people are standing up and are saying, so far and no further.
Today was a day of peaceful protest and prayer, but the threat of new violence before Wednesday's election remains. Kevin Dunn, ITN in South Africa.
A Soviet military newspaper has warned that ethnic clashes in Nagorno-Karabakh have brought the area to the brink of civil war. The Soviet Republic of Azerbaijan, which administers the area, could be paralyzed by a general strike tomorrow. Hundreds of thousands of Azerbaijanis are demanding greater independence from Moscow and continued control of Nagorno-Karabakh, whose Armenian majority want it reunited with Armenia.
In the capital of Soviet Azerbaijan, the latest in a series of huge nationalist rallies. The size of the crowd an indication of the increasing political pressure on the Kremlin. They converged on the central square of this city, singing nationalist songs. These Azerbaijanis are seeking autonomy from Moscow, but the passions are also aimed at their hatred of their neighbors, the Christian Armenians. One banner told of their hopes for sovereignty. Another condemned the dictatorship of Moscow over their republic. Leaders of this radical movement have, with the backing of the crowd, called for a general strike throughout Azerbaijan starting next week. Such action is certain to paralyze this region and provide another problem for the ailing Soviet economy. Speaker after speaker challenged the Kremlin's power. Following similar rallies in the Baltics and Moldavia, President Gorbachev knows that the ethnic unity of the Soviet Union is under greater stress than ever before. The strength of feeling here and the contempt in which Moscow is held will be causing the Kremlin grave concern. Still worse, no political solution and no compromise appears possible. Robert Moore, ITN, in Azerbaijan.
West German officials are tonight preparing to receive 20,000 East German refugees who are gathering at camps in Hungary. The exodus, which is being planned with the help of Hungary's reform-minded communist authorities, will be the biggest since the Berlin Wall was built nearly 30 years ago.
As the sounds of Sunday tolled out across Budapest today, soldiers from Mr. Gorbachev's reformed Soviet Union relaxed in the city centre, but in the suburbs, refugees from East Germany's relentlessly unreformist communist regime continue to arrive seeking freedom. Over 4,000 have come to refugee centres in Hungary, bringing what they can carry, tempted by reports that they'll be transported to a new life in West Germany in a few days' time. Red Cross trucks from West Germany have stocked the camps here with supplies. In the grounds of a Budapest church, 600 East Germans wait in a tent city. Most are young, many with technical skills much valued in the West. This motor mechanic had no doubts why he was fleeing.
I think the future for East Germany is black, with the communist administration.
And what do you think is your future in the West?
The future. It will be better.
Officials from the camps expect convoys of buses to begin transporting the refugees westwards within days. One mother was already sprucing up her daughter for the journey. So the flow of East Germans heading west through Hungary looks set to become an organised flood later this week. What is still not clear is what the East German government will do to try to stop it. Jeffrey Archer, ITN, Budapest.
Here, concern is growing this evening for the safety of a night watchman thought to have been abducted from a club near Swansea after disturbing burglars. An anonymous caller gave a location where John Cook could be found, but a police search found no trace of him.
The alarm was raised when the steward of the Trythyin Social Club at Llansamlet in South Wales found overturned tables, smashed glasses and blood on the floor. The night watchman, John Cook, was missing. His spectacles and one of his shoes were lying on the floor. His dog was locked in a room. 2 gaming machines had been forced open and cash stolen. The police believe Mr. Cook, who's 40 and married with 3 children, was abducted after disturbing burglars.
We are therefore very gravely concerned at the present time for Mr. Cook's safety, and I am asking anyone who knows where he is to please contact us.
Last night, Mr. Cook phoned his family. He seemed dazed and said he didn't know where he was. Today, an anonymous caller said he could be found on Kilvey Hill near Swansea. 50 officers and a police helicopter searched the area. Later, his wife made this appeal.
If anybody's holding John, please go to contact us to let us know he's all right. And if John's listening, please phone us or ma'am.
A young Briton on holiday in Corfu following the breakup of his marriage has been stabbed to death in a disco brawl. More than a dozen British tourists were involved in the fight at the nightclub in Benetzes. Christopher Beechinor, who was 24 and came from Bath, died on the way to hospital. Another man from Darlington was treated for stab wounds and is out of danger. Britain's charities will soon be able to appeal for donations by advertising on television. The government's lifting the ban on such commercials, freeing the big charities to launch multi-million-pound fundraising campaigns.
It was the Live Aid concert which proved the enormous power of television as a fundraiser. Events like ITV's telethon can draw £50 million in donations. Now the government is to relax a rule which stopped charities advertising on television, expensive but well within the means of the large ones. Latest figures show that in 1987 the National Trust spent more than £6 million on promotions. It raised more than £34 million in donations from the public. Oxfam spent £5.8 million and also received around £34 million. Britain's largest charity, the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, spent only £3.7 million, but it raised almost £36 million in donations. The advertisers say charity campaigns would make powerful television, but that might not please all their clients.
The kind of advertisement we'll create for charities will be extremely compelling, and that might blow the socks off the advertiser that appears next to it on screen. People will be so interested and thoughtful after having seen the charity advertisement that they might not take in the message that follows.
And some charities feel they could be squeezed out.
I think it's going to be very difficult for smaller charities to compete in a market where you've got larger ones who are going to be spending such large budgets, and through spending those budgets going to increase their revenue through appeals.
The Independent Broadcasting Authority will announce the change tomorrow with immediate effect. The first large TV charity campaign can be expected at Christmas.
A 2-day-old giant panda cub has died in a Washington zoo from complications after developing an infection. The 4-ounce female cub was being looked after in an incubator, but her condition deteriorated and zookeepers found her dead this morning. The cub was the 5th born to Ling Ling, but none of them has survived beyond a few days. A memorial to Allied airmen killed in the Second World War has been unveiled at Plymouth Hoe, 50 years to the day after the declaration of war. Ex-servicemen from 17 countries attended the ceremony. The bronze statue is the result of a 10-year campaign by a former rear gunner to mark their sacrifice. And at Scapa Flow, survivors from the battleship Royal Oak, lost early in the war, have returned to the place where more than 800 of their shipmates died.
On the calm waters of Scapa Flow, a memorial service for the 833 seamen who died 50 years ago at this place. 15 of their shipmates who survived are here to take part in this act of remembrance. As memories of that fateful Friday the 13th flood back, it's an emotional moment. Then it was a massive blow to the whole nation. A capital ship sunk in Britain's safest haven. The wreck of the Royal Oak still lies in Scapa Flow, encrusted with underwater life. Once a mighty fighting vessel, now a war grave. Everyday objects still good as new. Its guns were finally silenced by 4 torpedoes from U-boat 47. Her commander, Gunter Prine, was decorated by the Führer for his daring in slipping through Scapa's flawed defences. With him was a young torpedoman who also returned to remember this weekend.
19-year-old, my first trip, and that would be my last. Everybody else thought the same. We never thought we would get out there. So we were very lucky to get back out again.
In Orkney War Cemetery lie the bodies of a handful of the Royal Oak's dead, one anonymously. The survivors cannot forget, but they can forgive. That once young German U-boat sailor, Herbert Hermann, lays a wreath side by side with the Royal Oak survivor. In war, they were enemies. Today, comrades in remembrance.
And that's the news this evening. From the Weekend team, good night.
Good evening. Well, a cool, clear autumnal night for much of England and Wales. Temperatures low enough, in fact, to give you a touch of ground frost in a few places. Further north, no, a slightly different story. Much of Northern Ireland and Scotland seeing some rain during the night. Right, tomorrow morning, there's where we expect that rain to be, just from the northeast coast of Scotland there, down the border counties and just into Northern Ireland. South of that, though, a fine and dry start to the day. Gradually, as the day goes on, the rain pushing a little bit further south, clearer weather following along, the rain beginning to peter out as the day goes on, so that the southeast should stay dry until the end of the day. Further north, plenty of sunshine around, I think, early in the day, but later on, increasing cloud, bringing some rain to the northwest. Temperatures tomorrow, I think you'll see a degree or two up on today, top around 20 degrees Celsius, that's 68 degrees Fahrenheit. That's it from me for tonight. Here's tomorrow's summary.
And this is your local picture. The night will remain dry in most places, but cloud will increase on the Pennines towards morning and may produce a light shower or two. Further east and in the south, some mist may form towards dawn, while winds will remain light and variable. Tomorrow will bring a rather cloudy morning, but light and scattered showers will die out during the day as brighter conditions spread southeastwards. Winds will be light, mainly westerly, with afternoon temperatures up to 18 degrees centigrade, 64 Fahrenheit. And that's the local forecast.
This is the sound of killing. A brutal introduction to Western civilization.
5 men were killed. That's sad. We feel real bad about that. People die every day. We don't like it, but that's part of seeing this death.
The trail of exploitation in the name of God leads from South America back to Derbyshire. First Tuesday investigates death in the hunting ground, Tuesday at 10:35 on ITV.
What was life like 50 years ago? Find out next as we look back to this day in 1939, the day war broke out.
50 years ago, the Daily Telegraph told its readers Britain was at war. With this Monday's Telegraph, you'll get a copy of that historic issue. Only this time, it's on us.
2 minutes, Angie. Crikey! Well, here goes! Oh! Come on, we'll have to be quick. They're raising the drawbridge. Oh. I'm at the top now. Keep going. Keep going? Geronimo! I found it! Stop the top!
I bet she drinks Carling Black Label.
Ah,
I bet they do.
your best bet for a fuller flavour.
Carling Black Label.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling.
It's a jungle out there, so what better way to revive you than an invigorating shower? With the blend of nature's herbs you only find in Raydog Shower Fresh hair and body shampoos. Refresh yourself with Raydogs. It's second nature.
Make your money grow. Plant it with Legal & General.
These three girls are all wearing new Harmony hairspray. New Harmony hairspray with firmer hold and gentle conditioning. If it's your style, hold on to it.